So we're here today. It's October 21st. And I'm here with Kelly Jo and Catherine Mason and Bill Hales. And they're going to give us a bit of an update on what's been happening with the portrait project. And who wants to go first? Catherine, you want to put the ball to you?
Well, I'll be really quick. We left Kelly Jo and went into the acting portion of the and that was really challenging. I have to tell you, it was, just to try to coach on Zoom was really difficult, but I think the students did really well. They picked up on a lot. And then from there, we started to introduce the filming. So they're at the stage now where we're all kind of letting go of our strings, I guess. And usually in a normal production, this would be the point where, you go into tech and you're sort of getting more intensive and everything starts to come together. And now I was talking about this with Rachel yesterday, who's doing some lighting consultation. And it's a strange feeling to let them all go off and film. So yeah, that's where we're at. They're all in different groups. They have group one filming with certain backdrops, and then they'll return those backdrops on the weekend or early next week. And then the second group films, and then they all those files get deposited to Thomas Gallagher for editing by October 31st. So
Yeah, I was thinking the other day that was like, oh, it's like we're like a month away from opening and we've got nothing to do now. It's a very weird feeling in that way. Mason, do you have anything to add? Of course you do.
Yeah, I don't have that much to contribute today. Once we got all the packages out and in everyone's hands, it's just been kind of tuning up a few little props that needed a little work. And then Kathy, the wardrobe gal's been doing consultations, making sure everything looks good, or helping them with their outfits, making sure it looks good on screen or how it's going to be the best. But yeah, now it's sit back, wait, and it was just a bunch of organization from stage management to make sure everyone got here and what they needed for lighting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of organization around how to pick up, when to pick up, who to pick up, and it's, I think, driving Kathy a bit nuts too, because there's no fittings. I mean, things sort of like they fit or they don't fit, and there's safety pins and there's strings attached to costume bits, but it's like, it's kind of hope your measurements were accurate.
Kathy was magic. We did the fitting with Finn with his suit yesterday, just in this room on camera. And Kathy's just like, okay, pull it this way, pull it up that way, make sure this is that. You don't know how to wear it. You've never actually worn a suit as a sort of committed activity, have you? Okay, let's do that. And then, I mean, but the suit fit. The suit looked like it was made for the kid. It was amazing. And the shirt and the mask and the painted face that Mason did, the face reads really nicely on camera, the painted one on the face shield. So, I mean, that went really well.
That's great. Yeah, no, it's good to hear. But yeah, I know it's just.
The thing about Kathy.
Well, and even
the thing about Kathy is she can yell at you from 2 feet away or 4 kilometers.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking, even like, we sent Brahman's costume off, right, to Vancouver. And then we saw it the other day, last Friday, and it was, I mean, I guess that's the other thing we could talk, sorry, Bill, we'll get to you in a second, was that we did a run last Friday with all the monologue.
I guess you could call it a run. And it was challenging for the students because they've done storyboards, they have a shot list, and some of those shots are not, it's not just being on Zoom, it's working with the camera and different angles and different frames. So, some of them had a hard time because they would be normally lying down. Tiana, for example, her whole piece is lying stretched out with these monsters on top of her, and she had to sit straight up and try to imagine that. So I thought they did really, really well with the challenges they were presented with, and I really look forward to seeing the final products. But yeah, I mean, I think that part of it was probably one of the most difficult things for all of us to do, but I think it was a great thing because they had people with other eyes on them and were able to get feedback from people other than me, right? So
It was great too to hear sort of where the monologues have gone since we heard them last. 'Cause I haven't heard them in about a month, right? So it was just interesting to sort of watch and see how that had progressed as well. And they were all infinitely better than where they had been, and they were good to begin with. So I mean, it was quite. I thought it was really fun to just see where people have taken those impulses and their writing, and it's been really interesting. Bill, good morning.
Hello. Well, really being sort of on sabbatical, so I'm really kind of on the outside looking in, and I haven't seen anything yet. And I'm looking really forward to seeing what was happen. But basically, again, helping Rachel try to set up lighting for the students. And again, it's that whole kind of weird situation where the kids are going to have to do their own work for the first time. They don't have to worry about, they're not going to have some other lighting designer designing on them. So again, telling Rachel, make them shoot lots and lots and lots and look at it and go, oh, that was not quite right. Since the pieces are fairly short, do it a lot and then go, well, maybe I should move this light a little bit over here. And again, the whole philosophy of not looking at yourself, but actually looking at what is produced on the monitor. So I'm thinking that hopefully we've given them lots of opportunities, lots of not too much equipment to work with. Again, we bought some interesting stuff, and it's kind of funny. I'm waiting to play for it when I come back. But yeah, it's been great anticipation to see what comes out of this.
And I have to say, it's probably one of the first times that our acting students are actually like having to think about lighting other than something that someone else does for them, right? I mean, so in that way, it's that way. I think it's actually a really useful exercise.
Oh, very much so. I mean, yeah, it's like, and again, it's nice the chance that they can see what they've done by just looking at what they've recorded.
Mm-hmm.
It's really different, you know, when you're on stage and you're being lit, and it's a total different world than.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you never often see that, right? I mean, you never know what it actually looks like at all. So it's a big mystery.
And hopefully they'll get excited and maybe sign up for my classes. No, seriously, it's like the chance to actually go, wow, lighting does actually play a big role in the whole procedure.
So Kelly Jo, I think we're going to ask you to comment on it as both dramaturg, but also as someone who participated in a shoot last night.
Very good, my nails. That blacks, well, anyway. Anyhow, as a dramaturg, the Friday reading was really wonderful because I got to hear that what I'd hoped would happen had happened. They had started working with Catherine on the acting, and the voice dramaturgy had started. They could hear when they delivered it what needed to happen next. And that's really we would typically be workshopping this in a room and be playing around with it and stuff like that. So that's their opportunity to do voice dramaturgy. And they heard it and they would hear where it clunked, and they had dropped a lot of what clunked. And they heard what was passive and they brought it up. And the ones who hadn't, because every once in a while, a student just really, especially if they have a background in creative writing prose, they'll come up with a phrase or and I don't know anything about this myself. I've never done it in my own writing, but they come up with a phrase that they just adore and they can't cut it, even though it doesn't work as spoken performance. And they got to hear everybody else working with stuff that was much closer to something that was feasible for speech. And then they heard how theirs wasn't. And I could see the sort of ding, because really the only way you end up cutting your darlings is by having them fail very publicly. It is cruel, but true. And so that was happening in bits and pieces. And I had a couple of people come back to me and go, can you sit with me? Because I need to figure out what to do. And yeah, so couple, it was just like drop a line. I just said drop a line, and that was the end of it. And then a couple I'm working with this week to do a final pass before they record next week. As somebody who participated in a recording last night, I can tell you it's like every other recorded production I have ever conducted. And I've done hundreds of them. Everyone freaks out, nothing works, the plugs are the wrong plugs. The microphone cord had to be duct taped to the base because that's how that always goes, because somebody else uses the mic before you. And then when we started, like when we were restricted to the horizontal shot, that was the big aha for Finn in terms of the spatial relationship in the storyboarding, because it's like, oh, that's the window, which means all the acting I'm doing down here is not going to be there. And the whole piece had to be reblocked. Also, there's the not walking into the background. That's fun. That was a couple takes there. It never came down, but it was nip and tuck. And then there was the sweat. It's just the sweat, because he has the plastic face shield and the mask and the full suit, and we had the big square light on him. So there was the sweat. So that being said, after we started makeup at 7, we finished shooting at midnight. And we broke set at midnight. So it was a pretty typical session. And at the end of it, he was wildly exhilarated. Just wildly. It was just like, after 3 hours of going, I'm not good at this, he was like, I want to do this again. And I'm going, great, get a crew in a studio. So that was that experience.
It should, if nothing else, maybe Kelly, we should have a workshop with Kelly Jo and Finn talking about all the things that they, all the problems they encountered, so that as people are filming, they can not repeat them. But it's just, I think, great for them to also get that experience about how long it sort of takes, right? It's not an easy process. It will make them appreciate theater again.
Yes, and the adaptation. I mean, that's the major skill that you pick up at this stage in the process is sort of the contrast between what you think you're going to do and what the reality is of the space, the shot, the costume, everything like that, and having to be able to step back and go, okay, no, we're not going to do that shot. We're going to do a different shot. And that motion takes too much time and looks really awkward. You're just going to throw it. And so that stuff, and that's production. That's just production. And it's a wonderful skill to work on for any young person, is that level of adaptation in a workspace.
Well, and it's partly what we're not getting in the rehearsal hall. Like, if we're working sort of in production, that would be part of what we work through some of that in the rehearsal hall. So we're kind of missing that step. Well, we're missing a lot of steps, but that's one of them too, right? But, yeah. Kathy, we talked a little bit about you when you weren't here, but anything else to add?
Yeah, well, so sorry I'm late. Got my times all screwed up. So sorry about that. Well, I've been meeting with a few of them for, to get their final look of what things are going to be like, and just tweaking a few things with them. I'm hoping to meet with a bunch more. I put the request out and we'll see who else gets back to me there. And it's just interesting to see how they see it and we see it. And because we're looking at it from afar, I'm picking up things that they might not pick up themselves. So I think that's good, because I'll say, well, with Cadence, for example, with hers, she was one of the first ones I had a meeting with. And just, the portrait is a soft looking portrait, but she's got hard pieces in her scene, right? So I'm like, okay, if you get some beads and put them on the mirror, hang them on the mirror here, it's going to soften that edge to your edge, and just the way you're sitting. And just because she said at one point, I'm going to leave the scene. I said, okay, so then you see that little box. So I'm like, okay, you have to dress that, put a sheet over it. I said, do this. and just adding little pieces that are going to make it pop, and where to place the gloves and how to work with them, and to anything that looks out of what what camera does do. It'll pick up something that's really skew-if. So if the hair is not meant to be skew-if and you've got your hair all wacky, that's going to pull focus, stuff like that. So I'm keeping an eye on all of that with them. So it's been really interesting because it's been a long time since I've worked in film and stuff too. So it was kind of, oh gosh, yeah, this dynamic's going on now. So they're looking good though. I'm happy with the ones I've seen, so that's good.
And we were talking about just the challenge with building costumes and not having actual fittings.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few of them I really need to see. Like I really want to see Nicole's and on her. So yeah, I'm hoping they get back to me. So we'll see. Maybe there's a few here that I've missed this morning before I got onto here. So yeah, but
yeah,
no, it's a learning curve for them and for us. So it's
no, I'm not, and I think, you know, that's why we're all here, is to learn. So that's good. And I know Gerald can't be with us today, but he did say that all of the student films were finished. And so he's, I guess, now just waiting. They will then go to Thomas as well, and they will all get edited into the final project. And then, Catherine, you might talk a little bit about the connection in Greece.
Sure, this is really exciting, and I'm going to apologize in advance because I might get Emanuela's last name wrong. Kathleen Irwin, who is a colleague of ours, introduced me to Emanuela Cyberly over the summer, and we had hoped, once she heard about this project, we had hoped to try to collaborate in some way. She's at the University of Peloponnese in Greece, and it was challenging to make that happen because their semester started just last Friday and goes to the middle of February. So lining up the project with both of our classes was really challenging. So we, let it sit for a while and then reconnected maybe about 2 weeks or a week before her class began. And she teaches video performance and poetry. I'm going to get it wrong. I wish I had written it down. But anyway, she teaches in that field at that university. And so what we've done is sent the portraits to her, and all 13 portraits that our students worked on in theater and in film. And we've also asked the students if they minded if we sent their monologues over, so that her students could either perform them in Greek or take a theme from it and rework it in some way, sample some of the language into a poetry piece, or not use it at all and just respond to the portrait in their own fashion. So they were really excited about that. So we've shared emails, we've shared our students' emails with Emanuela, and hopefully her students will reach out to our students who are working on particular portraits. And at a certain point, when Thomas has the individual monologues edited, we'll send those files to Emanuela, and she'll do a similar thing over there as to what we are doing here with the film department, which is knit her students' work together with our students, and then we'll have kind of a global collaboration of some sort. So they're going to respond to the portraits in their way, and hopefully have some kind of dialogue with our students. And obviously they'll get a chance to see the work that our students do when it's online. So it's very exciting. And her name, and I'm sorry, Emanuela, if she sees this, because I did send her the first introduction, is Wojciech Krukowski, Emanuela. So thank you to them. And yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, no, that's really, I mean, I'm just thinking that it could extend life for, I know, for a long, I mean, you could do this with a number of partner institutions if you wanted to, right? And just extend the life of this project ongoing. But I think, but that project itself sounds actually really exciting. So fabulous to see the end result like 9 months from now or something, right? When they're done with it.
Yeah, I think it would be February, March. So it'll be like the end of our winter semester, or at least the mid to end of our winter semester. They'll have their work finished. And just culturally, it'll be really interesting to see how they respond to the work, you know, differently or the same from our students. So so that's a really interesting connection. Yeah.
No, we'll touch base one more time, but now it's pretty much all in Thomas's hands. I mean, once the filming is done, it's kind of all in his hands. So we may have nothing to say next time. Oh, yes.
Next time we should also invite Nathan Copens, who we've invited to also respond to the students' work. He's going to do an original composition for the final project. So yeah, it's really exciting.
And like every other production, it just grows a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, doesn't it? So it's pretty typical that way. Okay, well, if that's all, then I think we'll say goodbye. Thank you all again for your time, and we'll talk to you one more time.